Good evening, everybody. Great dignitaries and every respected person who watched this event in Zoom and the extended broadcasting system. So, welcome to this event. A great thinker once observed occasions become auspicious because of context and purpose. If it is right, this is the most auspicious occasion we all can be a part of in the beginning of 2021. Today, 10th of January 2021, we are going to witness the launch of a fantastic book written by one of the most influential thinkers in the modern economic scenario, Dr. Jebamalai Vinanchiarachi. I welcome all of you to this event. Let me just give you a brief about how the program is going to be. So after this introductory remarks, so we will be listening to Professor V.K. Damodaran, the presidential address. And following to that, Dr. Jebamalai will be introducing the book. So when the author is talking about his own book, that will be a great session. Followed to that, the book release and speech will be done by Padma Shri Dr. G. Bhaktawalsalam sir. And then the virtually Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan sir will be receiving the copy and sharing the reflections on the content of the book. Then Rahul Ishwar will be reviewing the book, and we will close the entire ceremony with a vote of thanks from Master Govind Ramkamal. This will be the structure of the session. And now let me give you a brief about Dr. Arachi, though he is known to most of us. But many people who come as audience may not be very familiar because they come to listen to the author. And so now let me introduce the author to them. Dr. Arachi had a stunning career with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. He was the principal economic advisor to the Secretary General of UNIDO. After leaving UNIDO, Dr. Arachi is currently serving as the principal advisor to Knowledge Management Associate Austria. Vinanchiarachi is a speaker on development issues and has given numerous speeches at the United Nations and across the globe. He is a person who has visited, spoke to, and intervened in the development issues in more than 100 countries. He has received numerous awards at an international level. In January 2012, Dr. Varachi received recognition as the outstanding non-resident Indian for his contribution to an international level to the global. This has been given by the Global Indian Association in the UAE. He is also the recipient of the Dynamic Indian of the Millennium by the KG Foundation. In October 2018, the Auckland-based Indian news network, Newslink, gave him a commemoration award for his distinguished contribution to the international community. In October 2018, so he received that award in Auckland. He has authored and co-authored more than 100 articles and 6 books till now. More than all this, Dr. Rachi is a great human being with a kind heart. So I'm sure his book will also be very much, reflecting the current economic scenario, political scenario, and the importance of ethics in that. So this is about Dr. Rachi. Moving forward, let me introduce Dr. V.K. Damodaran, who is going to deliver his presidential address. Dr. V.K. Damodaran is the most prominent expert in India in the area of energy management. He is a leader of the Energy Management Center, the former director to the Department of Science and Technology, Government of Kerala, a senior consultant to the UNIDO, and a professor in engineering. Dr. Damodaran served in the board of various companies and closely associated with different international and state governments for energy-related projects. Dr. V.K. Damodaran, sir, the screen is yours now. We are waiting to listen from you the presidential address. Sir, the screen is yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Praveen, and my pranam to Padma Shri Dr. Bhaktawalsalam, Ambassador Srinivasan, Dr. Jebamalai Vinanchiarachi, Rahul Ishwar, and all the dignitaries and all the participants to this function. What is new for you today is a treatise on reflections of Dr. Jebamalai on ethics in politics. He has very carefully added a byline to it, then and now. So we can expect a comparison of ethics in politics over a period. So throughout his career, he has been an observer of not only politics, governance in general, technology administration, and also people's lives, not only in one country, in several countries, and dealt with development economics and reports related to the kind of development that has actually been happening in different countries, which of course we say is actually catered and delivered by politicians or the product of politics. This is something which we cannot avoid today. So you have actually very able proficient speakers like Ambassador Srinivasan and Dr. Bhaktavasalam, though my contact personally with him is only for few days and few moments. I know him as a great and noble doctor and a man who disseminates knowledge, especially in the medical knowledge and in healthcare, which is actually very relevant to the people. So we are actually, and Rahul is actually a commentator, uh, not only on politics, but on various other things. And so you are due for accounts from all these people, especially with this particular book in center. I would say that I am the least competent to comment either about the book or the subject. But I also have been through 80 years plus living, and I have also been an observer, moved from country to country in almost all states of India and to almost every village in my own state, Kerala. And I have been observing not only things as it is around, but events as well. And one story which I still remember is early 1960s when I was teaching in the famous College of Engineering, Gindi. I was a young teacher at that time, and that was the time when there was a anti-Hindi agitation. And all the youth, the students of the universities and the colleges, not only in Madras city, but all over Tamil Nadu. They were agitating. They were even, I still remember the electric train service. Entire thing was actually beaten up, broken, and the kind of anger was so much. After all these things are done, these students came back, and some of my own students also were part of this team. They went and met the then chief minister, I think by the same name of our chief guest today, Sri Bhaktavasalam. So when they narrated all the story and they just put all the demands they wanted, what they expected from the political leadership for having done this agitation in a wonderful manner. And at the end was one demand. Sir, we have not been studying all these days. So the examination is just close by. So kindly postpone our public examination. Immediately, the chief minister said, this is what the account they told me. Oh, examination. Please go to the vice chancellor. Dr. Lakshman Swami Mudaliar was the vice chancellor at that time. And students actually, next destination was the vice chancellor's residence. They just went there and said that we are heroes. We have done all these kind of things. We are not studied well, so we cannot write the exam. Kindly postpone the exam. So the vice chancellor said, oh, you are unable to write the March exam. You write the September exam. That is why we have two examinations in a year. And the students coolly came back, and then they narrated the story to some of our young teachers. And I was actually wondering, if it is today, will any chief minister say, when the students actually, the agitators actually make a demand that as far as examination is concerned, you go to the vice chancellor? No. So this is actually the, over the time, the ethics, not only in politics, but in our common life and in our day-to-day decision making has actually changed enormously. It varies between regions, between people, between ideologies, and between all that we can think of. So I'm sure that as a person who has been able to absorb this kind of uh, feelings as well as actions and the sense of what is behind such decisions, Dr. Jebamalai would have made very interesting observations and how our own thinking about what we think about what we should have, that has been changing so rapidly. Sometimes we will say it has deteriorated, but there are always silver lines among such things, and I am sure this book would have brought out such wonderful incidents as well. And that is what we are going to hear from all these eminent speakers who are actually the powerful magnets which can actually take the highlights, essence, and the life of what Dr. Jebamalai Vinanchiarachi has penned on this subject. Thank you very much, and I look forward for a illuminating and educating session here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damodaran sir. So let's move forward. So after the presidential address, let's move forward to the author, the protagonist for this session, Dr. Jebamalai Vinanchiarachi. So the screen is yours. We are listening to, we are waiting to listen from the host's mouth. Please.
Thank you very much, respected Professor B.K. Damodaran, my friend, philosopher and guide, Padmasri Dr. Bhaktavachalam, Your Excellency, Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan, my good friends Praveen, Rahul, and Govind, Master Ramkumar, and dear participants. I'm extremely grateful to Thoughts Academy for organizing this great event. I feel honored. I'm really grateful to you, Praveen. As a student of economics, I was totally upset when my teachers told me Adam Smith, the father of economics, separated economics from ethics and politics and gave an independent status to the social science called economics and published the famous book, The Wealth of Nations, the first book in economics in 1776. As a student, I was really worried. Why did they remove ethics and politics? In fact, before 1776, it was called political economy. Politicians will have to decide. They are supposed to conceptualize, formulate, implement, monitor, audit, and implement policy interventions with a high degree of transparency and accountability, leading to an indelible impact on the welfare of the people. So politicians are part of this. Then ethics, ethical norms should really govern political thinking, political acts, and also economic activities. And I was very angry with the father of economics, Adam Smith. This was the origin. So this idea to question the decision to separate economics from ethics and politics during the, was a big issue in my mind. And during the days of Plato and Aristotle, ethics and politics were part of ethics and economics were part of political economy. So that was already there as a student. Then I happened to join the United Nations, and by virtue of the fact that I was holding a good position, I had the unique opportunity of traveling across countries and continents. Sometimes coming back in the morning and going all the time, coming back to go back to come back, all the time on missions, And I saw political imperfection, rampant corruption everywhere. Everywhere I could see that in some form or other. See, I was at one point posted in Sudan, and there is a war between South Sudan and North Sudan. And I was really part of the comprehensive peace agreement negotiations, okay, as one of the heads of UN agencies there. We had series of meetings in Nairobi because Southerners could not come to Khartoum. The situation was very bad. And these people from South Sudan, they used to speak excellent English because they were all, they were brought up with Oxford University a syllabus or something in Juba University was teaching everything in English. They were articulating ideas very well. They all came and spoke like representatives of Jesus Christ about the importance of separating from the union, seceding from the union, and they wanted an independent state. The speeches suggested that when South Sudan is separated from North Sudan, oh my God, with these guys, with these great intellectuals, um, they will convert Sudan into a paradise, breadbasket of the world, I would say, because it's endowed with a huge agricultural resource endowment. And I attended, the peace agreement was signed, and then I attended the donor conference in Oslo. Countries committed money like anything. I think the money committed for post-conflict recovery and development in South Sudan was to the tune of, I would say, $18 billion. And that was only for 2 years, immediately after 2 years. So we all inflated our mind with the great sense of optimism about the prospects for South Sudan. Within a year, you can question me, they can challenge me. Everything disappeared. All that was donated by donors disappeared. And the reason, political elites, they were the root cause of all these things. You should see, recently I went to South Sudan, not recently, 3 years ago. I could see how the business people are suffering, corruption is there everywhere. And of course, we know, that in some countries, corruption is under the table. In some countries, it is over the table. In some countries, table itself is corrupt. Table itself is corrupt. When a foreigner was totally fed up with the level of corruption here, he asked me, he asked me, I have written this in the book, don't you have honest people in your country? I said, of course, we do have honest people. They are a little more expensive, I said. And let me take you to Africa. Africa is endowed with a huge reservoir. I would call it resource-rich poor countries. Resource-rich poor countries. They are not able to convert resource-based comparative advantages into competitiveness because cost of production is high. That is due to infrastructural bottlenecks. Cost of doing business is high. That is mainly due to corruption. Cost of doing is very high in Africa, mainly due to corruption. Everybody knows that. At the airport, in one of the airports in Africa, when I was there, at the immigration counter, the officer asked for, created some problems. He said, there's a problem with your visa, I cannot. An Indian lady standing behind me said, don't worry, don't you, just to give him $10, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. I said, why should I give him? He overheard that. Then I said, I have a meeting tomorrow with the Minister for Trade and Industry in Abuja. I have to get the connecting flight. You want me to go or you want me to go back? And he said, oh, you have a meeting. Show me the evidence. I showed the evidence. Again, he said, still, there is a problem with your visa. He did not explain the problem. Then I told him, can I talk to your supervisor, please? He immediately said, gentlemen, my supervisor will be more expensive. So, see, these things really, I was totally frustrated with all these things. Again, East Asia, take the example. I have mentioned all these things in the book. East Asia. About Africa, actually, a famous professor from Oxford University, he said that, he would prefer a dictator who could ensure good governance to democratically elected corrupt people. A dictator, if he can ensure good governance, he would prefer that dictator to democratically elected people. This is what once Lee Kuan said, the Singapore premier, once said that for development, and not once, actually 3 days before breathing his last, he said, for development, there is no need for a democracy. What is needed is good governance. If a dictator can ensure that, that's enough for rekindling all sources of growth for in any country. This is what he said. Now let me take the East Asia. East Asia, if you look at the history of East Asia, when they were all under command economy, everything was okay. Then there is a scientific article written with evidence to prove systematically, methodically, scientifically that the level of corruption increased with the level of democratization. As these countries were getting into democracy, and with the democratization of these countries, level of corruption also. But there is one difference between corruption in East Asia and other continents. In East Asia, corruption was always productive. And in that article, they say that as long as corruption is productive, it is okay. If you cannot avoid corruption, If you cannot really avoid corruption, and better you appreciate protective corruption. And if there is distributive corruption, you collect money and distribute it to your relatives, that is bad. If part of the income is actually money is actually spent on protective purposes, it's okay. This is what the article says. Again, in all the continents we see, I have quoted Winston Churchill, and who said that politics will be drowned, completely drowned, and it will be in the hands of rowdies, rogues, and this and that. And he said money will spoil everything. And he said, I think you know this. One day he took a taxi to BBC radio. At that time, radio, there was no TV channel. So he was invited for a talk. And then he asked when the taxi reached the BBC office, Winston Churchill asked the driver. Driver didn't know it was Winston Churchill. So I asked him whether he could stay there for 30 minutes. And he said, no, I cannot stay. 1 hour. Can you stay for 1 hour? He said, no, I have to go home and listen to radio. Winston Churchill is speaking. And then Winston Churchill took 10 pounds and gave it to him. Then he said, let Winston Churchill go to hell. I will wait here for 2 hours. So money spoiled. This is what Winston Churchill wrote once. So money spoiled everything. I don't know whether as ambassador, when I requested Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan to make a statement on this, he said it may not be completely eradicated. I hope it will play an important role to control corruption, at least to some extent, because it is institutionalized, it is legalized, it has become part of life, it has become way of life. It's so sickening, very, very, very sickening. And that's why I wrote this book. Praveen, I live here, and let us listen to others who are going to comment on the content contained in my book. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
And I want to just express a word of thanks to all the panelists and also our publisher, Arthur Press. I really want to express my thanks for deciding to publish my book. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, sir. So now let's move to the release of the book. Let me introduce Dr. G. Bhaktavasalam. Dr. G. Bhaktavasalam is the chairman and the managing trustee of Dharmavira K. Govindaswamy Naidu Medical Trust, which runs the KG Hospital in Coimbatore, India. The nation awarded him with Padma Shri in 2000. As a prominent newspaper, The Hindu, wrote about him in 2004. He is a very good example for the man who blends service with business. Dr. Bhaktavasalam established the KG Eye Hospital, where 85,000 free cataract surgeries have been done for the poor. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president of India, appreciated KG Hospital's effort in his book, India 2020. Under Dr. Bhaktavasalam's leadership, KG Hospital has performed 1,600 free heart surgeries and 1,500 dialysis free of cost. Under KG Hospital's Little Heart scheme, 500 heart operations have been performed on children and 25,000 children have been screened for heart diseases free of cost. Further, over 300,000 adults have been screened free of cost for blood pressure and 35,000 accident victims have been saved. KG Hospital routinely conducts rural medical camps and 10 lakh people, a million, have been screened free through this initiative. KG Hospital provided free treatment to 250 bomb blast victims at Coimbatore in 1998 and contributed substantially for the victims of the Kargil War, Gujarat earthquake, the Kumbakonam fire tragedy, tsunami, and even for the recent Kerala floods. What a man he is. Sir, we are proud to have you on board, and it is my privilege to host you for this event. Most of all, Dr. Bhaktavasalam is an author who has 12 books in his credit. Through these books, he's on a mission to educate the healthcare system in India and make it the best in the world. Sir, the screen is yours. We are waiting to listen to you. And also, I request you to release the book digitally. And when you're releasing the book, my colleague will be showing the book on the screen for all of us.
Shall I release the book and talk?
Screen is yours.
Shall I release the book and talk?
Please. Wow. Yeah, sure. I think you can take down the screen share so that sir can speak.
His Excellency, our Srinivasan sir, received the book.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have it here.
It's gone on to his hands.
It reached me very fast.
Very good, sir. Thank you, sir. India got the freedom long time ago, about 70 years ago. We got freedom only from the white fellow, the Britishers. But we have no freedom from corruption. We have no freedom from poverty. 20 crores of Indians, they still don't have one single good meal to eat. There is freedom only from the white dominance. I wish he had stayed back for some more time because he had a stick in the hand. Now everybody is a Britisher now. We always say in Tamil, வெள்ளையனே வெளியேறு. White fellow, get out, quit India. I say வெள்ளையனே வெளியேறு, கொள்ளையனே உள்ளே போ. You see, some of these so-called people who studied in Harvard and going into Tihar jail and saying hello. That is the, see, people go to jail without any shame. It's supposed to be a correctional facility. See, this country needs 1 lakh APJ Abdul Kalams as role model. One role model of Abdul Kalam is not enough. This Mr. Jebamalai, I don't know how he went to UNIDO, and because his better half was working in that country, and he is not the same Jebamalai of Tirunelveli or Palayam Kota. He became a most educated erudite. If you listen to him for 1 hour, you understand he is better than a Harvard University professor. Thank you, Mr. Jebamalai, to call me to release this one. You said, I'm your guide. No, you are our role model. What a great man he is. I'm not, it's not a mutual admiration society. Everybody who's sitting here, they have done something for this country. Your Excellency, you have been an IAS officer. I'm an ordinary MBBS doctor. People are created by God for a purpose. People don't understand. God has created us as a human being. He could have put me in Amazon forest as a python, or he could have put me in Somalia or Sudan or Afghanistan. He put me in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. I said, this is God's own country. And God, thousands of gods live in India. The only thing which mistake, we see as a doctor, we always go for the root cause of the disease. If you say corruption is a disease, the root cause of the disease is no moral education. Those days when I was there half a century ago, there is one class every week called moral education. Some of the Christians have the moral education every week in the temple. We in Hindus, there is no moral education in the temple. In temples, it's all nice, jolly good celebration. Pongal is coming, we go and eat Pongal. Deepavali, we crack the crackers. I mean, there's no education. You see, you're a human being. I said, when you're a human being, you must be a humane being. Humane being is you're an Atma. You're a child of God, Paramatma. People don't understand. See, I saw a small article. One of the would-be chief ministers of Tamil Nadu, his father is a chief, mother is a chief. Everybody wants to be a chief minister, like Bihar. So nobody wants to be a humble, simple servant. Patriotism is missing. Patriotism is missing. The least corrupt country in the whole world is Canada, Denmark, Finland, New Zealand, Sweden, Singapore, and Uruguay. I don't know where is Uruguay. And this country with 130 crores of people, 25 crores of people below poverty line, because for the past 70 years, the politicians of this country have been swindling this country. This country is very, very docile country. It is not like Hong Kong. It is not like some of those rebellious countries. ஜகத்தினில் ஒருவனுக்கு உணவில்லை என்றில் இந்த ஜகத்தினை அழித்து விடுவோம். Bharatiyar said, if one man is going hungry, we will destroy this country. 25 crores of people, the Bimaru states, the north of India is different from south of India. Of course, the south of India, when we do some projects, we get money. Somehow, some bridges are built, 10% will go to the pockets of the powerful people, the engineers or politicians or bureaucrats. In north of India, for example, 1,000 crores were swindled for the animal feeds when the animals were not there. That is the limit I said this corruption is spoiling not us, the future generation. The future generation is losing ground. 40% of people in Tamil Nadu, they drink alcohol because the Tosmac shops give enormous amount of clout for politicians to give free everything. No, free rice, free laptops, free cycles. I said there is loss of there. My wife says no free lunch for you. Did you work for today? I'm 78 years young, sir. Still, I have to work. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and then do some exercises, get connected to God by reading some nice books from Mata Mritanandamayi or it may be Brahmakumaris. And then I give a video conferencing lecture. In the past 9 months, I've given 270 lectures to my doctors. I think Dr. Jebamalai knows a country with such intelligent people going to dogs. We have written a book and we have published a beautiful book, From Here to Where. That is exactly I want. If the judges are corrupt, if doctors are corrupt, what can we do? If judges are corrupt, doctors are corrupt. Doctors want money before you enter the hospital. Somebody said you must remove money from the doctors and judges. They should not be paid any money. Then only this country can go to greater heights. I was in America. I came back. In Cochin, we had a meeting for celebrating the 50th birthday party of Mata Amritanandamayi. APJ Abdul Kalam also took part in that program. After he spoke, I also spoke for 1 minute. Only 1 minute. I said I went to America. I became a totally different doctor. American medicine is mecca of medicine. You cannot survive there unless you are the fittest of the survival. So I'm an American in the brain, an Indian in the heart. If you are not very good, how can I run this hospital for the past 47 years? Starting with 2 beds, now it's 500 beds. Yesterday we did a organ retrieval from a young boy, 7 years old boy with the brain dead. We removed 7 organs, transplanted 7 organs, the liver, both the kidneys, the eyes, and the heart. I said, we have got the technology. This telephone is a great technology. And we use it left, right, and the middle. We send the ECG. We start the medications. What a great technology. APJ Abdul Kalam said, technology is of no use unless it helps the common man. He sent rockets to the moon. The same metal. He created the calipers. 4-kilogram caliper was constructed at 400 grams. The child could run. He could create a Kalam Raju stent for 4,000 rupees, where a Johnson & Johnson stent was sold for 2 lakhs. Technology. In Trivandrum, Valiathon created valves. I said, this country has got the largest number of intellectuals serving the other countries. The best of the best intellectuals go to the other country and make that fellow rich. I said, if the neighborhood Ambujam Mami is very beautiful, you'd like to go to neighborhood Ambujam Mami's house, live there? Who will take care of your Marathal and Ramathal? I said, Baba, you come back, serve the country. Please come back. And I have only one solution before I complete. This book is fantastic book. I read it 3 times. Kamraj Nadar, 5th grade, uncorrupted. APJ Abdul Kalam, the most technocratic president of India, who can send rockets, Trishul rockets. Both are non-corrupt. Kakkan from the Harijan family, absolutely he went by a bus. The role models are politicians. I don't think this country should suffer like this. We make all the countries in the world rich by using our brain. The so-called NRIs, non-resident Indians, the so-called not returning Indians, not required Indians, they should come back. Instead of celebrating Modi in 10,000 people in auditoriums in New York, they should come back and serve their own villages. What prevented them to come? They're all from village boys only. They're making money in hundreds of thousands of dollars. Enough money. Was anybody more richer than Alexander the Great? When he died, he said, my God, spread all the jewels on the path to the graveyard. Ask the 4 big doctors who tried to save me and leave my hands out to show them I have nothing in my hand. Half the world is under him. Arey Baba, all the politicians who are going to die, they will not take even a single paisa in their hand. Why is this? Greed in a poor country. I have got one formula, sir. Jebamalai, 100,000 mothers should take a vow. Like Mahatma Gandhi took a vow when he was kicked out of the train. When a white fellow kicked him out of the train in South Africa. Who the hell is this white fellow kicking me out of the train? I've got a valid ticket. Air conditioning. He was a Bharat law. He said, let me go back to my country, which is ruled by 50,000 white fellows, ruling 50 crores of Indians. Slave mentality. So if 100,000 women take a vow that will create two children each, morally strong, physically strong, like what Vivekananda wanted. Give me 500 people who are strong. I will change this country. 100,000 women, folk who are in the college now, if they can create 100,000, 200,000 youngsters who cannot be swayed by the so-called money power, I think this country will come to great heights in the next 3 decades. It will take 3 decades for this country to reach its glorious heights. Thank you very much for calling me. All the guests of honor, I'm really happy. Damodaran sir and Praveen, Govind, that's my father's name, Govind Ramakrishna, and Ambassador His Excellency Srinivas Prabhu. Rahul, I should have a discussion with Arnab. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So now let's move forward to the words of Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan. Let me give a brief introduction. So Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan, he's a former ambassador of India and governor of India of the International Atomic Energy Agency. He was India's permanent representative to the United Nations. He served as an official for around 10 years in the USA and in countries such as Bhutan, Fiji, Kenya, Russia, and many more representing India. He currently serves as a chairman, academic council, and director to NSS Academy of Civil Services. He's also the Director General, Kerala International Center. Based on his extensive experience and powered by intellectual prowess, Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan has published many books such as More Diplomacy Through a Shakespearean Prism, Education of an Ambassador, Reflections on Higher Education Reform in India, Venkat Forever, a tribute to Ambassador Venkateshwaran, Applied Diplomacy Through the Prism of Mythology, Mattering to India, Encounters, Words, Adventures in Diplomacy. So a lot of good books. I've read some of his suggestions to the government of Kerala during his tenure as the Vice Chairman, Higher Education Council, Kerala. Now, when the government of Kerala and India announced their education projects, I remember reading many of those in the list of suggestions ambassadors submitted to the government. I really don't know whether they are giving credits there, whether they are extending credits to him. I really don't know. I'm a regular follower of TP Saw's articles on contemporary topics and his new chat show, Tea with TPS. Sir, the screen is yours. I'm requesting you to review the book. Not review the book, talk something about the book based on your reading and your reflections about the book. Over to you, sir. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Praveen. I've never been so well introduced. You could even remember the names of my books. I cannot remember them myself. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. I know you are a professional presenter, so I'm not surprised. Well, what a pleasure to receive a book written by a friend through the great hands of Dr. Bhaktavatsal. This is a real opportunity and a real privilege. And my link with Dr. Bhaktavatsal is through Dr. Jebamalai. That is what makes it even more interesting. I think Mr. Jebamalai told so many lies about me to Dr. Bhaktavatsal that he decided to give me an award. And what is the name of the award?
Dynamic
Indian of the Millennium. My God. Everybody was very impressed. But I said there were about 30 dynamic Indians from the Millennium, including Dr. Jebamalai that day. But the real dynamic Indian on the stage was Dr. Bhaktavatsal. I cannot believe the energy of this person. He is slightly younger than me, I think. Anyway, but the way he conducted it, it was choreographed by him, it was presented by him, it was He was praising somebody, he was reprimanding somebody, he was saying the world doesn't understand. It was such a presence on the stage throughout. It was a real joy watching him at that time. And then what a choreographed program, what a nice meal, what a stay. Everything was fantastic. I really felt like a dynamic Indian of the millennium because of that award. Thank you, Dr. Bhaktavasalam, and it's a pleasure to see you again, even though only online. Hopefully things will get better and we'll meet in Coimbatore or somewhere else. I wrote on this book, the back page, one good thing about Dr. Jebamalai is the more books he writes, the better for me, because I am immortalized in each of those books. I am either on the cover or I am in the introduction or I am releasing, I'm presenting. So I hope he writes more and more books so that I get this opportunity to immortalize myself in the pages of his books. But what I said was he is an exceptional civil servant, international civil servant. I met thousands of them and worked with them. Everybody has a certain amount of pride or arrogance that is part of the UN system. And they rarely think. They think in terms of resolutions and think in terms of the day-to-day affairs of the world, rather than put on their thinking cap. So Dr. Jebamalai very often, even when he was in the system, he used to put on his thinking cap and look at the world. And that is the exceptional quality that he has. And now that he has no hair, I think the hat is even more required. But he is putting a good use to it. And therefore, we are very happy every time he comes out with a book. The other good thing about him is he's not writing 600 pages or 700 pages. He doesn't need to. He reminds me of Francis Bacon. I'm sure you must have all heard about him. Bacon's job was to create aphorisms. He writes an essay. You take every sentence and you can quote it for a whole occasion. So it is not, the sentences may not even be interlinked. It is like writing a number of quotations on a particular subject. Each one can be just picked up and read. And so somebody asked, do you know what is Hamlet? Somebody said, yeah, there is a book of quotations. So it is like that. Jebamalai's books are all books of quotations. And that shows that he actually distills the information and he absorbs it. And in a simple language, he presents it to us for those who have not had any study of economics. François Mitterrand, the president of France, once said, I do not have a single book on economics in my library. I was very impressed because my state was exactly the same. I did not have a single book in my library. But Dr. Jebamalai has increased by 200% because now I have 2 books on economics in my library. And very recently, I also got a book on circular economy by another friend. So I have only 3 books in my library. The rest is all politics and culture and history and so on. So that is another reason why I'm grateful to him. He said he traveled around the world and made this discovery that the world is full of corruption. Dr. Jebamalai could have stayed in Trivandrum and made the same discovery. He didn't have to go to Sudan. He didn't have to go anywhere. We are so much involved in corruption of various kinds. And the only thing that you're impressed with the corruption in the world is that they're so inventive, so innovative to find ways of corruption. When the first news of COVID vaccine came, I wrote an article for the Open magazine saying vaccine wars. Because I just imagine here, a commodity which is rare, which is difficult to get, millions of people, everybody wanting it. No government will be able to vaccinate everybody at the same time. And therefore, there has to be a vaccine war in the country. And we are seeing that with our own eyes. I'm sure there is black market. Somebody asked me, when do you want to take this vaccination, sir? I said, well, my turn will come. He said, why do you want to wait for your turn to come? I can arrange it for you today. This is the system. Whether you call it effective system, efficient system, I don't know. But definitely we cannot handle anything in a proper and direct way. Nobody is willing to stand in line. So this has become universal. It is not only that it's become universal, it is accepted to be appropriate. Because nobody, in our parliament, maybe more than 75% of our parliamentarians have cases against them, mostly corruption cases. Of course, after Mr. Modi came, it has come down considerably. But it is not even considered wrong. In fact, if you are not corrupt, you are considered weak, you are considered incompetent. So efficiency and corruption combined is supposed to be the ideal system. And this has come all over. And this book, actually, you don't need to read it. You only have to look at the cover. Look at the expression of Mahatma Gandhi. That's all. It is Dr. Jebamalai telling us that you are putting your father of the nation to shame by no ethics in politics. Mahatma Gandhi's famous statements about, politics without principles, etc., etc. So it is prevalent everywhere, but all the jokes are about Africa when it comes to corruption. There is an excellent joke I heard in Kenya. The Public Works Department Minister of Kenya went to Italy to meet his counterpart. So he had a very good time, and finally in the evening, he took the Kenyan minister to his apartment. Fabulous apartment. He had never seen anything like this. He was flabbergasted. How did he make so much money? He's also PWD minister. I'm also PWD minister. So he went up to him and said, Mr. Minister, tell me your secret. How did you make so much money? You have such a high salary. He said, come with me. He took him to the window and said, look out. What do you see? He says, I see a wonderful bridge there. Beautiful bridge. In he hushed tones, he said, I made 10% out of it. Then he took him to the other window. He showed him a multi-story building. Like that, it went on the whole evening. He showed him wherever he made his 10%. So our Kenyan minister returned home. And after 5 years, he invited the Italian minister to come. At this time, he had the opportunity to show off his wealth. He was really, really well. So he asked the Kenyan minister, what did you do? He said, come with me. So he took him to the window and said, do you see that beautiful bridge out there with lights on? Wonderful. So the minister said, where? I don't see any. He said, I took 100%. That's all. Corruption is only in terms of degree, not in terms of not having. The other Kenyan story about corruption is that once the Transparency International puts out a list of the most corrupt countries, and Kenya was right on top, the most corrupt country in the world. So there was a huge hue and cry in the parliament. The president must resign. How can we be the richest, the poorest, the most corrupt country in the world? The president said, well, next time before the report comes, we'll do something. So don't worry, give me 1 year. So I said, so the next year the report came and Kenya's name was not on the list. So everybody was very pleased. But there was a footnote saying, data for Kenya are not available. Here, he had bribed the company. He bribed the Transparency International to put it that way. So it's a ridiculous situation. We negotiated an anti-corruption convention in Vienna. Dr. Jebamalai must be familiar with it. And when the preparatory committee was elected, I was elected the chairman of the committee, and the ambassador of Nigeria was elected the vice chairman. Everybody was happy. The next day, the ambassador came and told me, Mr. Ambassador, I have a problem. I want you to resign, and I want to be the chairman, and you can be the vice chairman. I said, I have no problem, but what is the problem? He said, when I reported this to my foreign minister, he said, what do you mean India is the chairman? India is not half as corrupt as we are. So you go and claim the chairmanship yourself. And he honestly told me, and I said, please go ahead. And the kind of trouble that we had negotiating that document, just urging people to do A, B, C, D. But nobody wanted to be even urged to keep an honest life. And the Western countries, of course, tried to include into every clause of the convention that unless it is a clean government, unless there is good governance, we will not get any funding. So we had this trouble of, on the one hand, balancing the requirement of good governance on the one hand, and the absolute refusal of most of the other countries to accept any standard of, corruption, any standard of non-corrupt methodology. So what we are seeing is this. So there is nothing new in the book. But what is new in the book is his personal experiences on which he has drawn these conclusions. So he's not operating in a vacuum. The names are mentioned of people whom he has seen to be good governing people. Others, of course, he cannot mention the name. So in a few pages, he has been able to bring together his vast experience, his personal experience, experiential writing. And that is what he has done. And he has done it in such a way that anybody can understand it. Could be a textbook in a school or a college. And that much simplicity, that much of brevity, and that much of clarity in the book. And that is why I think it is a worthwhile addition to my collection of 3 books on economics. So thank you, Dr. Jebamalai, thank you, Dr. Valsaraj Salam, and all others for giving me this opportunity to reflect on my friend Dr. Jebamalai's abilities, and we hope to receive more books from him because he is very profuse in writing, and he has a way with words. He will always combine 2 words together and make a bit of a play with words. That capacity also you see everywhere in the book. So it's a real delight, a good addition to the the store of books, emphasizing what we do not have. As you said, Dr. Batal Salam, we don't need just one Dr. Abdul Kalam. We need more and more of it. So let us hope that these ideas and these thoughts and such books will get us more of Abdul Kalam in India. And we can, in a post-COVID world, let us hope people will be less corrupt and more honest and more punctual and more God-fearing, as you always emphasize. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think all the speakers on this platform have.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes,
sorry to interrupt. Ambassador made a reference to the cover design. It was designed by Govind, son of our good friend Ram Kamal. He is going to propose vote of thanks after Rahul. Okay, thank you.
Sure, that's a good mention, sir. Yeah, I think the one thing which is is like, so all the speakers are explaining very complicated and tough subjects in very simple format. That's a common with all the speakers. Let me introduce Rahul Ishwar. Rahul Ishwar is a young philosopher and philosophy author. He has written 3 books, Philosophy of Philosophy, Philosophy of Education, and Philosophy of Vedanta. When he published his first book, Philosophy of Philosophy, Mr. Ishwar was just 19 years old. Rahul Ishwar is a TEDx speaker who spoke on prestigious TEDx platforms such as TEDx IAM, TEDx SRM, and TEDx Narsee Monjee University. He's featured and presented his ideas on global media such as BBC, New York Times, and Al Jazeera. From the age of 22, he has been the most sought-after panelist on national and regional channels in India, such as NDTV, CNN and Times Now, Republic TV, both for their Hindi and English platforms. When the country is been divided into left and right, Rahul's stances on various socio-political topics are getting much more acceptance across the nation, as his stand is always, it is not right or left, but India first. Rahul, being a person who keeps Gandhiji deep in heart, I'm sure he's the best person to review the book with Mahatma Gandhi on the cover. Rahul Ishwar, I request you to share your review regarding this simple and powerful book written by Dr. Jebamalai, the great author. The screen is yours, Mr. Rahul.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. All the eminent people on the panel, all of them, we have always seen with great respect. Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan sir, Dr. Jebamalai, we have Bhaktavalsalan sir, Mr. Damodaran sir, Govind, who designed a beautiful car. Thank you so much, and I'll not take much time. I'll get into the review right now. I was very inspired by reading Dr. Jebamalai's book. I believe it's a book that should definitely be a mandatory read for every Indian and every human who wants to deal with this issue. And I would like to start with a question. We always say we have a political capital. That's, in India's political capital is New Delhi. Tamil Nadu's political capital is Chennai, or Kerala's is Trivandrum. We have our financial capital calling Mumbai. Right now, Mumbai is the place from where I'm joining, or Kochi. We always say the cultural capital is, for Kerala is Thrissur, or India, some people call it Calcutta. Why don't we have a ethical capital? That's one of the good ideas that I really got inspired from after reading Jebamalai sir's book. We need to have something like an ethical capital, and I found it very fascinating. Perhaps Dr. Jebamalai is joining from that ethical capital of India, rightly called the Gandhiji's ashram or Sabarmati, as his background. I think that's a great thing that we should remember. Along with the political, economic, or financial and cultural capital, we need to have an ethical capital, and I believe that ethical capital's idea-wise capital can definitely be this book. This book, as we always say, don't judge a book by its cover, but you cannot miss the cover of this particular book. And this is perhaps for the first time we see the father of our nation in such a posture and with such a beautiful, profound body language that conveys the essence of this book. And going into the details of this book is exploring 5 aspects. One, the ethics as a part of political economy. And I believe the author is very courageous. The author has gone to make a bold statement of saying that the whole idea of divorcing economics from ethics and politics has been a wrong step by the father of economics, Adam Smith, and he wants to see this as a holistic part of social dynamics and social life. That's the most important insight you can get. The author points out the ancient Greek thinkers who considered ethics as a part of whole, much like the Indian dharma concept, which is a part of artha and kama. Dr. Jebamalai boldly challenges and questions the foundational premise of the father of modern economics, Adam Smith, and his paradigm of divorcing this economics from politics and ethics. And author also points out that even though we divide them into subjects, in reality, politics, economics, and ethics are deeply interwoven and has to be understood holistically. This is a treatise, this is a grantha, and a very important work for all those who wants to understand deeper layers of this fascinating aspect of social dynamics. From the ancient Nicomachean ethics, named after Ether Aristotle's father of sun, this aspect of ethics has to be highlighted, and the author has been very successful in highlighting the examples, pointing out the flaws in various aspects and various parts of the world, bringing into life his experience, expanding over various continents. He points out ethics as a part of political economy, then goes into the good Indian leaders, of course, goes into the African context and elaborates on their aspect. I'm not much informed about those aspects, but the African context I found very fascinating. Even a layman who doesn't have enough understanding about the African context and paradigm, I could get an insight into it. And I found it very interesting regarding the East Asian context of democratization and corruption. And he uses very, as we all know, Dr. Jebamalai sir is a very articulate person. He has a very good way with words. So he uses words like democracy, politics, and he points out with great wit and fun the crazy and tricky deeds of our politicians who in effect are bent upon making more of economic riches for themselves than for the nation they are ruling. This is, and he also comes to examples of our great leaders like Kamaraj. This book is written in a very deep, reflective, and concerned tone, if I can use that word. There is a sincerity in him to change the world, and at least the author believes he can really inspire change in people that can cause a ripple effect across. It's a very pleasant read for all those people who want to go deep into social dynamics. His wit and ability to frame words, his deep articulation, and his ability to create catchwords is remarkable. A reader is fulfilled both intellectually and holistically. And as a reader and a social commentator, I found it one of the most interesting, inspiring books I have gone through in recent times. I hope our schools and colleges will definitely take this book and make it a very good read for their children so that we can have an ethical generation and we can definitely think about an ethical capital for our nation, and an ethical capital in the capital sense, a cultural ethical capital for our future. This book definitely is a part of that cultural ethical capital, some total of knowledge for our future generations. It has been a great read, Dr. Jebamalai. It's an enlightening experience to read your book. Thank you for this book, youngster. I believe our future generation should definitely read this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rahuleshwar. It was very precise and great and deep review regarding the book. So I'm very glad to know that you could read the entire book and encapsulate the entire content into less number of words. Brilliant. So now we are moving forward to the to out of thanks. We have Mr. Govind, the little hero in the event, the man who designed the cover of the book which has been released today. Govind, the one word I can use to comment your work is awesome. Simply awesome. Govind's father, Mr. Ramkumar, is a great friend of Dr. Jebamalai, media professional and a social intervention expert. So no doubt that you are making it great. So Govind, the screen is yours. We are waiting to listen to your words out of thanks. Over to you, Govind.
Thank you so much, Praveen. This is my first time like speaking in a public event, even from school, and I'm a bit like scared to be in a panel with such great personalities. So I want to thank Dr. Jebamalai sir to like give me this opportunity to design this cover. When I first asked him about the book, he explained a small brief about what the book is about, and I asked him like, what if Mahatma Gandhi were to see what a future generation has been reached, and he told me to go on with the idea, and with my help of my mother and my father, like I was able to like finally come up with a like good design for the cover. And now let me okay, so first I need to thank Mr. Padma Shri G. Bhakta, who is not only like a role model for the doctors in all around the world, but also a savior for me, especially since my dad is taking his prescriptions, not just the medicine, but how to live a simple life. I thank you so much for that, doctor. Now, after that, I need to try and thank Ambassador Sri T.B. Srinivasan. I never expected to like understand what everyone would be saying today, since I'm not. I'll be sitting with such like amazing people then, but everyone like how Dr. Srinivasan explained it in such a simple word, I was able to like understand it, and it was. Thank you so much for like. Thank you so much for speaking, and I needed to thank Dr. V.K. Damodaran. And we all call him Chachi in a lovely sense, and he has been like my grandfather figure for me since childhood. And thank you so much for taking your time speaking. Now I need to thank Rahul Ishwar. His review about the book was like really energetic, and he actually he actually enhanced the beauty of this entire book release. And again, I need to thank Dr. Jebamalai for taking a risk in allowing me to present the vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
Govind, you did very well. You did absolutely well. So more students are waiting for you, and more than that, more books are waiting for your design, your cover design. I'm sure more opportunities will be in line in front of you for this. So we are coming to the end of this short, beautiful, and mind-blowing event. So thank you very much, everybody, for being a part of this event, sharing your views, sharing your opinions. And on behalf of the entire people who participated in the event, I am taking this opportunity to thank Dr. Jebamalai Vinanchiarachi, Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan, Dr. G. Bhaktawalsalam, V.K. Damodaran, and Govind and Rahul Ishwar to share your views, opinions, and your comments regarding the books. And thank you very much for all people who listened to this event. And thank you very much for all people who made some comments also in between the event. So anyway, we are calling off this event. Thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Praveen, may I interrupt for a moment?
Sure, go
ahead. I almost forgot. Happy birthday, Mr. Dr. Jebamalai Vinanchiarachi. I almost forgot to mention it.
Happy birthday.
My birthday.
Oh,
wow.
great.
Oh, you never told us, Dr. Jebamalai. Happy birthday. I think I should put a song.
Happy birthday.
And Jebamalai sir, just one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy birthday. Today is my son Yag's birthday too. I'm privileged that he is sharing his birthday with a great person like you.
Capricorns will survive anything, anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So where are all the cakes?
All right, we
Thank you
keep an
very much,
account.
Ruben. Thank you for Bante. Thank you
Keep
for
an account.
inviting all of us. Yeah, Ambassador, sir.
Day to you.
Okay.
Happy birthday to you.
To you.
Happy
Krishna, Krishna.
Great.
Anyway, thank you very much, all of you. Pleasure meeting you all. Thank you.